Welcome to the Crafting Dojo. In this video, I will be discussing my personal paint style, 3-5 Cel Shade. Let's get into it. So I've come up with two methods on how you can actually paint 3-5 Cel Shade. Method number one is you use only 3 paints per detail across the entirety of the model. The second method is that you use between 3 to 5 paints per detail across the model. So some of the details that are a little bit smaller or less important, you would typically only paint up to about 3 paints. And the more important details, you would use up to 5 paints to paint that detail. So as you can see here for method one, I broke it down into a budget-friendly as well as a hobbyist option. So I think that every miniature painter, when you start out, should have a black and either a pure or an off-white paint in their repertoire. So the idea behind the budget-friendly option is to mix 50-50 black in your midtone to get your shadow color, use your pure midtone for your obviously midtone color, and a 50-50 mix of white and your midtone to get your highlight color. Now, the hobbyist one, if you have a wider array of paints in different colors, it's easier to just use the pure color, so you're not having to try to come back later and try to color match that mixed color. And for method two, I've chosen 5 colors of red going from dark to light. Now, you can go down to 4 colors, or you can even push it up to 6. There's no real requirement. It's just I found that 5 colors is a pretty good point to stop to really sell that detail. The cool thing about this technique as well is on the tabletop, without doing any blending, your eye will naturally blend these colors together. Now, up close under scrutiny, obviously you're going to be able to see the difference in layer lines and that they're not blended, but it will still look pretty good up close and it will sell the effect of cel shading. Okay, so enough of me yapping. Let's get into actually painting these models. So on the left side, I have a 50-50 mix of black and flat green for the 3 version of the salamander. And on the right, I have terrestrial titan for the 5. So the first layer, I'm just focusing on getting down 2 solid coats of the base color to start off with. I'm not worried about spilling over onto other details or anything like that. Just get it covered. So for layer 2, on the left, we have just pure flat green as our midtone color. And on the right, we have a 50-50 mix of black and flat green. Now layer 2 is where you start to cut in and shape your details for the consecutive layers to come. Now, you can start being extremely precise with this, or you can be a little bit rougher. It's up to you how clean or rough you kind of want to go with this. Either or is fine. Now, if you're going a little bit rougher, it's easier to go a little bit faster, but in the end, a cleaner look will look better. For layer 3, we have slime green as the last color for our salamander on the left, and we have flat green for layer 3 for our salamander on the right. So me personally, I like very bright, vibrant, punchy colors on my models. I love full saturation and vivid colors, so I went with a very bright green for the salamander on the left, from a dark green to a very, very bright green. Now, if you want to go a little bit more grim dark, like 40K aesthetic, you can choose darker colors for this. But me personally, I just think that for that cel shaded effect, and for that bright vibrancy in contrast, that slime green really sells it. The model on the right, we are still playing catch up with the flat green. And this is the final leg of the journey for the salamander's armor on the left. And now I fear that our salamander on the right must continue on alone. Next up, layer 4, we have a 50-50 mix of flat green and slime green. So as with the previous layers before it, we are just painting consecutively smaller and smaller layers building on each other. So with this layer on, we start to push past the level of where most cel shading stops. So a lot of cel shading stops at either 2 or 3 colors, but we're pushing it past that. We now move on to layer 5 with pure slime green. So with layer 5, I honestly would recommend most people to stop at this point and move on to something else on your model. I personally like to really hone in on the largest part of the model, which in this case is the armor. So I like to make sure that this is fully done before I move on to anything else. However, I also like really high contrast, so I'm going to push it one more layer. And for my final optional layer, I chose the color pistachio. For this final layer, I'm really pushing that contrast. I'm not adding a lot of paint. I'm just doing some little tiny highlights here and there across the model. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to do a full tutorial of painting these models. I will do videos in the future where I do go through every aspect of the model. But for now, we're going to end it here, and we're going to look at some glamour shots of these two models fully finished. And to wrap up this video, we're going to look at some models from different tabletop games that I've painted using this technique.